Today's reading is from Matthew 22, verses 34 through 40. When the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees? Sadducees. I didn't see that word earlier. When the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together, and one of them, an expert in the law, asked a question to test him. "Teacher, what commandment in the law is the greatest?" He said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment, and a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets."
I have, I think we calculated 6 messages, right? Well, Ryan and I were doing the math earlier. 6 messages, 7 Sundays left, 6 messages, because the last Sunday that I'm here, Pastor Jay, your new pastor, will be giving the message on that day. So I hope that you'll definitely be here for that. It'll be May 24th. But on my 6, I was trying to think about what I wanted to talk about. And what I wanted to talk about was really what matters most. The thing that matters most is the reason that we are here, the reason that I'm in ministry, the reason that that we gather when we gather. It's because of love. And so for the next 6 Sundays, you're going to hear me discussing things about love. 2,000 years ago, Jesus was being bullied by religious leaders. They were not the leaders per se. They were more like elders. I don't know how you know this in churches, but sometimes elders in churches can bully people. Some people have been to churches where you just kind of have the person that, knows their stuff and kind of uses it against everybody. This is kind of what they are. And they sat and tried to trip Jesus up so that he would say something wrong and the people that were following him would turn against him. Sadducees and the Pharisees, they didn't like each other. A lot of times we see them together, we almost assume that they're all the same thing. They hated each other. The only thing that they teamed up for in the first place was because they had a common enemy, and that was Jesus. And so they would often work together to try to destroy Jesus. And many of the things that they tried to do were to try to get him to say the wrong thing, get him to deny things from the Torah, get him to turn the people that were mostly at this time Judean against him, and they would have control again. One of the things that they said was, "What is the greatest commandment?" Jesus said, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your strength." They would have known this. They would have had this memorized. This is something that they had no problem with. It's what he said afterwards. And love your neighbor as yourself. That was something that they didn't usually say then. This is a culture that it was love those that love you, hate those that hate you. It was not unheard of to carry grudges. It was not unheard of to just outright hate people. The people of Jesus' audiences at this time openly hated Rome. They openly hated people that were outsiders. They openly hated Gentiles. Jesus was confronting them on something. And it's something to note that even the Pharisees and the Sadducees, who were always at war together, he's challenging them to love one another. And we think about love sometimes as a feeling, something that we hold inside, something that we receive from somebody else. But when Jesus talks about it, it's a verb. It's an action. It's something that we're supposed to give to other people. And I was thinking about, what does love in action look like? It can be many different things. There's wedding kind of love. There is family kind of love. But again, those are adjectives, not verbs. What is love in action? Especially when you have an audience and you think about the people that Jesus' time, the people that are trying to bully him, people that are trying to outsmart him, and people that don't get along together at all, usually without him. So I started to think about that, and then something happened not too long ago in my life that I thought I'd share with you. I've been told I don't look intimidating. I think that's a good thing. I've been told that I look approachable. But when I was younger, I scared a lot of people because I was a bully. In grade school, I was a big bully. From the grades, I don't know, second to fourth, I was really, really mean. And if you grew up in a small town, God help you if you're a new person on that school year. Because 9 out of 10 times, you're going to have someone like me picking you out to bully. I remember one school year, a girl started, and the only thing that was different about her, I suppose, is she had red hair. Well, that's all it took. I made fun of her, and not just made fun of her. If I walked by her, I pushed her to the ground. I was a mean, vicious bully. And for about the next 3 years, I and some other people terrorized this poor child. She did nothing to deserve it. She was just a regular kid like us. But I made it to where she was afraid to come to school. I was that kid. I've thought about that over the years. You know, when I got into high school, my life changed. In middle school, I guess you call it, we called it junior high, because that's the smart thing to say. I got into the wrong crowd and started to abuse drugs, and ended up into a treatment facility that for kids that abuse drugs. And when I went through there, it opened up my eyes to who I was down deep inside. I started to answer some of the questions of why I acted the certain way that I did, and that I didn't want to act that way anymore. I started to realize during that time that I was bullied too. I was made fun of a lot, because of my size, and we also had a father that whenever he got drunk would turn into a vicious bully and abuse us. And evil is a funny thing. I believe that there is evil in this world. I believe that there is a cosmic battle of good and evil. And evil can take somebody, even as a little child, and tell them, if you're getting hurt, the best way to deal with that is to hurt someone else. Because that's what I did. I can't say that there's an excuse for this. It's not. Because the people that are being abused, that I was hurting, that I was bullying, they did not deserve it. I learned that that was not the way to do things. And as I continued to learn about who I was in my high school years, I started to learn who God was. And believe it or not, God, when I was bullying, I never thought about. My family was not a church-going family. I remember being on drugs and being so paranoid that God could see me using drugs that, believe it or not, I would only smoke a joint if there was a roof over my head, because I had it in my head that God couldn't see through the roofs. For some reason, I think I got him confused with Santa Claus. But as I started to connect more with who I was, the more I started to go away from that bully image. I started to break a cycle that had been in my family for generations. I had found out later on that my father was abused by his father, and his father was abused by his father. It was something that just happened. I started to speak for the first time in schools, telling my story and talking about what I had been through as a child. I was only about 15 or 16 years old when I first started public speaking. And I spoke, I think, in every school in Lincoln and maybe even in Nebraska. But as I got older, I started to remember something that I did not do, that I should have done. I never apologized to that girl that I bullied in grade school. My actions had changed, and I was a different person, but I had never truly made amends. And if love is a verb, does love look like that as well? Does it look like owning our own behavior and trying to right a wrong personally to somebody that we have harmed? It wasn't until years later that I realized that that's exactly what love is. That when Jesus was talking to the Pharisees and the Sadducees, when he said, love your neighbor, he was talking to them as well. That their fighting between each other needed to come to an end. Their fighting against him needed to come to an end. But that we were all neighbors. And being neighbors, we need to be able to apologize when we've hurt somebody. We need to be able to make amends. We need to be able to reconcile. The entire Bible is all about reconciliation. It's about people falling away from God and God continually trying to reconcile with us. That's what it's all about. It wasn't until I started my journey toward preaching that I started to realize that Jesus was telling us that it's for us to come together. You see, we still live in a place of war. We still live in a place where might is bigger, and that bullying is actually, in this day and age, kind of okay as long as we bully the right people. And it may not be because they have red hair. Could be because they have a different color of skin. Could be because they are on the other side of the tracks, or they are a different political party. But we seem to give carte blanche and permission for each other to bully them, make fun of them, even go to war with them. You see, that evil still creeps in and says that if you were hurt, hurt them. We love to talk about the first part of that commandment that Jesus gave us 2,000 years ago. We love to say, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength. It's the other part that we have trouble with. Love your neighbor as yourself. It wasn't received well then, still not received well now. We love to quote the Old Testament. I don't know what it is about that Old Testament, but we keep going back to that as if Jesus never came around. We want to put the 10 Commandments in our schools. We forget about the Beatitudes. We forget about the message. We want people to say, love God because God is power. We even want to say, I love God more than you do. Or that the person that I'm bullying them because they don't like God, or God doesn't like them. That tricky part that Jesus added, we still struggle with. Love your neighbor as yourself. See, I learned that when I was bullying people, the part that I was struggling with was that love yourself. For years, I did not love who I was. For many, many years, I did not like who I was, and I was convinced nobody else did either. So better to just bully them and scare them away than to have anybody get close. The love yourself part. See, Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself. That means that the measure of how you're going to love your neighbor depends on how much you love yourself. We like to skip over that part. As a matter of fact, whenever we post anything online, we're fine with the love God part. We get thumbs up, hearts. Post anything about loving yourself or loving our neighbor. People start to call us names. Tell us we're unbiblical. Unbiblical. One of the regrets I had for a long, long time was that I never, as I started to love myself, I started to realize the neighbors that I did not show love to. Some of them I was able to apologize to. Some of them, after high school, lost contact with them, and one of them was that little red-haired girl. She's the one that I probably hurt the most. It was not uncommon for me to leave her in tears. And it's funny that even in something that when you're like 11, 12 years old, maybe younger, you look back on those moments and they still, when you talk about loving yourself, there's still that thing that gets at you about the horrible person that you were. And for years, all I wanted to do was apologize to her. I didn't even know where she was. I didn't know if she was in anything. About a month ago, I noticed that somebody started to like messages that I was posting on Facebook. Started to like sermons that I was sharing. It took me a while, but I realized it was her. She had since been married and her name was changed. Found out that she had been Facebook friends with me for quite a while. I'm a little slow to the take when it comes to social media. I don't usually spend time on it because I loathe it. And a name change, I can easily escape me. But there she was. How do I define love? Well, in this case, it's about making amends. It's about respecting the adult, but also respecting the child that she was, and taking responsibility for the child that I was. So I Facebook messaged her. It's funny how you do that anymore. I didn't know how else to contact her. And I just started typing. As I was typing, I started remembering. I was awful to her. Awful. I wanted to tell her that it wasn't who I was. I wanted to tell her that I had changed. But it wasn't about me. I needed to just tell her that I was sorry. I needed to set things right. I was scared about bringing up those memories for her as well. But my fingers just kept going. And I just kept typing this long string, telling her just how sorry I was. That she didn't deserve it. That there was no call for it. That it was me that had the demons. And the funny thing about Facebook is, as soon as you hit that return, you can't get that back. And then you see on Facebook Messenger, you see their little image pop up, which I guess says that they're reading it. And I just sat there, terrified. I may not be the person that I was in 5th grade. I may be, well, farther away from 5th grade than I was. But then it gives this thing of their typing. And I just sat and waited. And the first thing that it said was, Trevor, I forgave you years ago. You were kind in high school. After you came back, you were kind. You were kind to me. That's what I remember. Because I had never really voiced my amend, I wasn't seeing that. I wasn't seeing that part of me that had changed, the part that she saw. And with her wisdom of saying that, I was able to realize that no, I wasn't the same person. But the apology still needed to be done. And in that moment of forgiveness, I felt like, yeah, That's an act of love. A hero of mine that the part of this church is, in a sense, kind of named after. We named it after this passage here, is where we got the whole thing. But it was also had a little bit of a connection with a man named Fred Rogers. Fred Rogers, when he was in seminary, had a professor that was this amazing person. They said one time in the winter storm, he left for lunch. And when he came back, he wasn't wearing his coat. And they asked him where it was, and he said, I must have misplaced it. And they knew that he'd given away to somebody that needed it more. And in one of the lectures, there was a Q&A, and they said, Professor, what is the one word that the devil can't stand? And he said, forgiveness. By me owning my behavior, by me truly repenting of that behavior, by me calling it what it was and apologizing, and her forgiving, that's what matters most in our world. Isn't it funny that that's the thing that we try to avoid? We let pride get in our way when we've done something wrong. We try to make excuses about it. We try to still villainize the people that we disagree with. But just like Jesus talking to those Pharisees and those Sadducees saying, you guys, you're neighbors. You're neighbors too. The bullying still exists. We just call it conflict, wars, disagreements, Facebook posts. If we see love as an action, truly as an action, if we see why we are here, that's when we truly understand God. Love God, love yourself, and love your neighbor. Would you pray with me? Gracious and loving God, we all have our scars, and we all have the times that we've done something that we just shouldn't have. There may be things in our past that helped open the door for evil to give us a misdirection, but we still need to make amends in our hearts. The amends we make are first to you. When we think about the things that we've done that were just not an action of love, may you forgive us. May you welcome us. And may you continue to guide us on the right path, the path that Jesus laid out for us so long ago and continues to lay out for us today, the path of love. Help us to understand every facet that that entails, every action that that entails, every decision that entails. And yes, going back and righting wrongs when we didn't choose it. In Jesus' name, Lord, we pray. Amen.